Hey everybody, I'm back with another reaction and analysis video. I'm excited because I'm finally back at it and I can finally react to Geoff Castellucci's Sound of Silence, which, by the way, abstaining from listening to this so far has been incredibly difficult because it's been very long awaited. Now, Geoff did tease this on Instagram at one point, after which I announced that I would be reacting to it, though I guess some people didn't see that he had teased it and there was some contention as to whether I was spoiling it. I assure you I was not because he already teased it on Instagram. Um, but yes, no spoilers were given. I'm also not on Geoff's Patreon, so I wouldn't have known he was doing this unless I had seen the Instagram post. But yes, hopefully I'll be on Geoff's Patreon soon. It's just financial struggles. I'm on voice plays and a couple of others, but I don't know. It's just a lot to balance. Financials are a struggle, but you don't want to hear me talk about that. So let's get into the reaction. Alrighty, and we're live. Let's get to it.
My old friend. Hello, darkness, my old...
Okay, C minor is our key. Now, we get something really interesting with this intro. Let's try to figure this out. So, C sharp minor is our key, but we're starting in major. Something like that is what we're getting with this intro. So instead of going right to the traditional piano arpeggio that we associate with the Sound of Silence, we're starting with something a little bit different that leads into it. Also, some really awesome lighting effects going on so far. I mean, I just started the video, so not a whole lot to comment on yet, but lighting effects, and there's a lot of cool stuff going on in the audio, just like sounds added in by electronically and stuff. But yes, a lot going on in this intro right away that I have to really appreciate. Also, nice rich warm tone on the low C's, which I don't have. I'm not as natural of a low bass as Geoff is, but darkness, my old friend. So nice and rich and warm down there.
My old friend, I've come to talk with you again.
Sorry, I won't pause too much just because I'm really interested to see where he's going with this. But when it goes down to I've come to talk with you again, when he does that, that's B flat 1 down there. And he's doing it very casually with, again, the same warmth and resonance, and I think it's just such a beautiful tone to have in the first octave.
With you again.
And he kind of accidentally does subharmonic there.
With you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seed while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
Another little B flat. So, The Sound of Silence is one of my favorite songs of all time. I like the Simon and Garfunkel, the original. Disturbed's cover is probably my favorite. And I also really like the Tommy P cover. That probably comes second after Disturbed. You could probably... So many artists have covered The Sound of Silence, it's crazy. Because because you have Pentatonics and you have the Peter Hollins and Tim Faust one. There's just so many covers. But through all of them, I think something that's really important to nail is the way the story builds and how the musicality should reflect that, which is something I think is definitely missing from the Simon and Garfunkel version, that the Disturbed cover really patches in the arrangement, because you start really soft and low for this first, and each one is supposed to build as the story builds to a climactic ending, because I don't know, it's just musical storytelling, and I think that's something to really add to the piece. So what I hear here is a very stripped version of the first verse, which is just Geoff's voice and the keyboard. We have some of the like low hums that are like the computer engineered effects that I mentioned right in the beginning, but other than that, just a very soft, low, mellow introduction. So I think that's a good way to start the piece. Nothing too big, nothing too flashy. Hopefully we get to the big and flashy, but we'll see where he goes.
Sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone.
Yeah, so you see in the bridge between the first and second verse, we just get some nice light riffing. Nothing too fancy, nothing too showy, just a little bit of filler in there to be the connective tissue. And then once we get to the second verse, it's not much different in terms of the structure, but we get a little bit more motion in the piano part with the whatever's going on there. I don't know, it's just a little bit more motion just to make the second verse a little bit more moving than the first one. So I'm glad he is doing what I've mentioned with the building between each verse. We'll see how it continues though, and I'll let it play for a little bit.
Narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp, I turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light, split the night and touched the sound of silence.
So we're teasing something big because you hear that computer computer generated hum that I was talking about a couple of times. It just builds and then cuts off suddenly, and we get that kind of like every measure. It goes for 2 beats and then cuts off. I don't know if that's quite what's happening there, but you can tell we're definitely teasing something big. Also, the tempo actually increased a little bit from the beginning, not a whole lot, but enough to increase the drive a little bit. And even with Geoff's vocals, now we're not hanging on to the low end quite as much, where we have a little bit more brightness in the voice. We're also not really dipping into that first octave quite as much in this verse, just because we want to keep it nice and light and bright in this section. But let's continue. Oh, also with the neon light, how the light appears and shines on him.
When my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light, split the night and touched the sound of silence, and in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more, people talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs that voices never.
I can't decide whether to pause or just to let it play, because I'd rather just let it play, but there's also so much to talk about. So we have 2 separate concepts here in the lyrics: people talking without speaking and people hearing without listening, which I think is, by the way, one of the most powerful and poetic lines of music I've heard to date. But with each one we get the flash of light in the background, and we get hums from background vocals going on, which we haven't heard yet in the piece. Yet another example of the build throughout the verses of the song.
People talking without
With this whole arrangement, we're getting a lot of rubato, which is the musical term that kind of implies not really consistency with the tempo and just the all of the audio that's going on here. It's just very sporadic, very spontaneous. Because one measure you'll have big vocals and the next it'll cut off, and there's a meaning behind all of it. Like we drop off before we get to sound of silence. It just motivically because it's silence. It's supposed to be softer, but I don't. There's just so much going on to make this so captivating, and we get the marching snare going on in the background as we end this third verse. So good.
Of silence. Fools that I do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you.
Okay, are we gonna get the high octave on that part of the melody? But okay, sweet. We get to the fourth verse, which it's a building story. Each verse is bigger than the last, so we actually jump the octave here. Now we have the background vocals participating full time. But yes, all of this is contributing to the build, and we also have some strings in the background now. The lighting of the video is a little bit brighter. He's a little bit more bathed in light than he had been before. All of it is just build, build, build. That's how the song goes.
Fools that I do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you. Take my arms that I might reach you. But
Yeah, low E flat 1 there. And you know what? It doesn't jut out too much, which I think sometimes is a trap that Geoff's arrangements fall into. Use some super low note that just blats and kind of takes you out of it a little bit. Again, it's not always that he does that, but it's sometimes I'm just like, maybe not. But yes, this is good. Very good use of the low subs.
I might teach you. Take my arms that I might reach you. But my words,
Ooh, juicy dissonance there.
my words like silent raindrops fell, echo in the wind.
Yeah, there you go. Echoed. And then the voices actually echo that, so that's also in the what's the other one? The Hound and the Fox that they did with Adam Chance. They do the echo that goes around between the voices, but yes, text painting there with the word echo actually echoing.
Drops fell, echo in the waves of silence.
So we're really playing around with the harmonic structure of the piece here, adding so many unusual chords that break the key. Which is the opposite of diatonic. You know what? I forget. You can tell my music theory's been really slacking lately. But yes, just so much creativity and innovation with the chord structure here.
Of silence. And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made. And the sun flashed out its warning in the words that it was for me. In the sense and the words of the
It's important to notice how at this part we get a lot more subdivision in the percussion, like a you can feel the beat very clearly. This is the biggest point in the piece. The rubato that I talked about before has kind of gone away, and we're just into it. Especially since with that playing with the harmonies part I talked about, having it suddenly go to this big section where he's singing in the high register and all the backgrounds are also singing pretty high. Nice beautiful mixed voice up there, by the way. We get the camera moving around very quickly, very shakily, which we have not gotten before, and the fullness of the light, everything is just contributing to this being the big moment of the piece. One of the background vocals was up to a B flat 4 in there. Oh, I'm sorry. I kind of cut off when we get to a really important part. Once again, when we get to Of Silence, motivically we always wanted to have the audio softer and quieter. So I think it's such a good decision because that whole fifth verse is the biggest impact of the piece. It's where we get to the climax of the story, and Geoff is really reflecting that in everything he does, like I just mentioned. But then once we get to the Of Silence, everything just drops off. That dominant chord doesn't really resolve to the tonic until we get Of Silence, and we just close off with that softer motivical line. And then it still feels satisfying because the structure of the piece has conditioned you to find Of Silence satisfying, even though it is the quietest part of every verse. Listen, and we even end on a dissonance. So much cool stuff going on here. Does he talk at the end?
Hey y'all, Geoff here.
Hi, Geoff.
Thank you so much for watching.
Okay, we'll listen to that when we're done. It's just such a captivating piece, and what I think is done especially well by Geoff in his arrangement is the, I guess, breaking of habits that he's developed in his other arrangements and music videos to have like the background vocalists present, be it in a vocal trio like Till Then, or just 5 Geoffs in a line like in the Halloween one, Ghost Riders in the Sky. I think there's a very conscious choice here made to only have the lead vocalist starred, even though they're all Geoff, only to have the lead Geoff starred in the video, because it's a song about isolation and being separated and kind of set apart from the rest of society. So I think it's a very good choice made here. And even the fact that all around him is just dark, there are select moments where one light will shine, but like maybe that one light is even representative of the one person set apart from the zombified society. That is, if you look up what the song is actually about. But yeah, I don't know, just a very beautiful arrangement, very subtle. Same with the music video. All of this is just contributing to such a beautiful masterpiece of an arrangement. So yeah, I give Geoff the W for this arrangement, and I think it's a very beautiful, very worth having done, very worth the wait. So much about it is so captivating. But before I keep rambling, I'm going to end it here. So, thank you guys for watching this video. If you made it this far, thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to go sub to Geoff Castellucci. And with that, I'm out. Peace.